Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Parsons, and this is a continuation of the presentation that we had for PVCC's Theater Day in fall of 2024. So we're going to be able to dive into everything. I know we weren't able to finish the slideshow, so my hope is that this presentation will allow everybody to be on the same page, and anybody who wasn't able to be a part of the original presentation will be able to watch this now. So my name is Jessica Parsons, and let's go ahead and get started. So what is a working actor? So it's someone who's made the decision to dedicate their time to performing. This is above a casual or hobby level. Now that's not to say that you can't absolutely love theater or making movies or all of the various different types of performance that are out there. But being a working actor means that you have made the decision to pursue it on a professional or semi-professional manner. So this is usually somebody who dedicates their full time, so 30, 40 hours a week. And usually it's paid. Not always, but that's the goal, right? We all want to be paid working actors. So the typical dream that most people think of when they think of a working actor is either you have this Broadway actor who is wanted by every director, has performed in every theater, always gets the most amazing roles. And sort of the same thing with film is it's this actor who is going to be the next in every blockbuster hit. Every time that you go and see a movie at the theater, there's going to be at least one, maybe 2 or 3 movies with them in it. So this is what some of our parents or some of our friends might think of when we say, I want to do acting. I want to be an actor, right? But the reality is that our job as an actor is to audition. The majority of an actor's time is spent in the audition room. It's getting comfortable, getting in front of others and performing. One of the best pieces of advice I ever received was that our job is auditioning. So every time that I go into an audition room, I am able to take some of the pressure off of myself by being able to say, hey, if nothing else, I got to perform a monologue or a song that I really, really love for an audience. Now that audience might be 2 people in a really small room, but I still got the chance to perform. And so in that way, I am performing. I'm doing what I love. Getting out of the space of thinking that an audition is some sort of a test that will give us the ability to do what we love puts a lot of pressure on us. A lot. And so many times when we go into an audition room, our talent is an important factor. But sometimes there are so many other factors that are outside of our control. Do we look like what the director was picturing in their head? Do we sound like what they were picturing in their head? Were they distracted while we were doing our audition, so they didn't really see us? There are so many different things that are involved that really the audition is a performance opportunity. And sometimes it leads to other performances and sometimes it doesn't. But getting into the space of thinking that our job is to audition opens so many doors. Another reality that we have to remember is that there are only so many roles in film and so many parts or shows on Broadway. Your talent isn't in question when we talk about these realities, but the statistics are. But that's when we have to remember our job is to audition. It's to do the shows that our audition leads to. So in that way, we're able to help with some of those statistics. But also, there are so many other opportunities other than Broadway and Hollywood. And we're going to talk about some of those today. All right, The first thing that I want you to do is ask yourself some questions. As you're starting to formulate which path do you want to take and how do you want to get to your goals, you got to ask yourself some questions. What about acting do you love the most? What draws you to acting? And at the same time, what about acting do you like the least? And is the part about acting that you like the least something that is going to get in the way of being truly happy? For example, one of the things that I love the most is when the curtain comes up and all of the actors get on stage and there's absolutely nothing that can stop this show. It is a train and it has left the station and we are all on this magical journey of, we all know what's supposed to happen next, but we're all finding those moments and finding that energy and making those connections. There's nothing better. What I like least about acting is the sitting around. Cue to cue is torture for me because I like to be up and active and talking. So that part's really hard for me. In the rehearsal hall, having to sit there quietly is difficult for me. So I'll usually step out and work on lines or work with another actor. So for me, that answers a question. I'm probably not going to enjoy film as much as I enjoy theater. Film has a lot of sitting around and waiting because there's so many people trying to do so many things at once. Everybody's got to take their turn. So for me, answering the question, what about acting do you like the least, gives me an idea of what side of acting do I want to pursue and what am I willing to do, wanting to do, and what am I not willing to do, not wanting to do, right? Would you give up other things to act? We all joke about the idea of, oh, I can't, I have rehearsal. But if you're going to make acting your full-time job, you're going to have to realize that there are going to have to be things that are going to have to shift in your life. You might not be able to go out every night with your friends. You might miss out on family events. You might have to make a decision between working and earning a living or going to something else or going and doing something else. So just understanding, would you give up other things to act, and also establishing those boundaries. What are the things you are willing to miss and what are the things you aren't? And that will help inform you what projects you should be taking on. Can you take on a 6-month-long project where you're going off into Tunisia to film the latest Star Wars movie? Can you be away from your family for that long? Or can you sign on to a contract for a touring show that again is going to take you away from your family? Or can you commit to doing a holiday show that means that you're not going to be able to spend Thanksgiving with your family or maybe Christmas Eve with your family, sort of a thing? And then, would you act in a project without your friends? So often in high school, we are surrounded by our friends, and that can give us a lot of comfort and a lot of fun moments. But sometimes we're going to have to take on projects that our friends aren't involved in. And there's no right or wrong answer here. If you really like acting in a project with your friends, then there's lots of different options. I started a theater company with my best friend so that we could work together more, so that it would work with our schedules more, so that he wouldn't have to miss out on so much of his baby son's life, but still be able to do the theater without it being a burden on his work schedule or on his family life. So there's lots of different options that you have as you answer these questions. Next, would you act in a project for a story you aren't familiar with? We all would love to be a part of the revival of the Phantom of the Opera, or we would love to be a part of a Star Wars or a Marvel or a Disney project for a story that we know or a company that we really know. But are you willing to take on some of the lesser known projects or lesser known companies that are around? And again, there's no right or wrong answer. This just kind of informs what projects you're going to be looking for. Are you looking to do Shakespeare that everybody's done before? Or are you really excited about the idea of working with new playwrights and on new projects? And then here's another one. And this one's going to be really important. Do you want to tell the same story 100 times or 100 stories one time? Now, this might not make sense to you. You might be asking yourself, well, why do I need to know that? And the difference is between live theater or live performance versus recorded performance. That's your film, that's your video games, that's your voiceover. If you want to tell the same story 100 times, if you want to be on stage performing the same role every night, 8 days a week, then theater's going to be for you. But if you look at that and go, oh, I would get so bored of that. I'd rather tell 100 stories one time. Then film or another recorded project might be a better fit for you, because oftentimes you'll do several takes to get what you need. But once that take is over, or once that episode finishes, you're never going to go back and you're never going to say those lines again or perform that moment again. So it's all about, do you want to do something over and over, or are you constantly wanting to try new things? This can also help you understand, do you want to sign on to longer projects, a show that is going to perform for 3 months, or would you prefer to be on a show that is only 2 weekends? Lots of different choices, but again, asking yourself these questions here at the beginning is going to help you down the road, and nothing says that your answers can't change. All right. So now we have all of these answers, or at least these questions, floating around our brains. And if we look outside of the traditional Broadway or Hollywood options, there's going to be so many more opportunities for us, and statistically, more chances to do what we love. So really, when we talk about being a working actor, or how do we become a working actor, what we're here to talk about, honestly, this presentation should have had the title, Becoming a Working Actor to Get Closer to Your Big Dream While Still Doing What You Love, because there are so many more opportunities out there to build your skills and fill in those connections. The musical, not really, we're not singing today, but it's this idea of everything that we want to do in our life, we're going to have to make choices. And sometimes those choices mean that we have to take on smaller things to build our skills, to build our pathway. That way we can get to those bigger dreams. So having those big dreams in mind is always something we want to keep with us. But in order to get there, sometimes we have to find smaller steps that will get us there. All right. So we are going to be talking about traditional pathways to becoming a working actor and non-traditional pathways to becoming a working actor. So let's get started with it. First off, traditionally, how do we progress our career? Well, we get training. You're getting training in your high school. You're able to participate in community theater. There are so many opportunities to get training for theater, for film, especially if you live in the Phoenix area. Places like Wickenburg and Flagstaff are going to have fewer opportunities, but there's also lots of opportunities online. Get connected. Networking is going to be a huge part of your career. Talk to people who are in your class with you. Talk to people who are at Theater Day or Thespian Festival. These are going to be people that you might be working with in the future, and it's always good to get to know other actors, to work with other actors, directors, designers, stage managers. All of these people are going to be folks that you're going to be working with, and are people that you can recommend when somebody asks, hey, do you know a stage manager? And also there's someone who can recommend you for parts or let you know, hey, there's this opportunity coming up. And then submit for everything. Make sure that you read the description and make sure that you're comfortable with the project and that the project is a good fit for you, and that you're a good fit for the project. But submit for as many things as you can. Again, the more that you put yourself out there and the more that you audition, the more chances you're going to have to be a part of a production or a part of a show. And then ultimately be a good person to work with. If you are somebody who has a lot of bad days or has a lot of trouble with a positive attitude, folks aren't going to ask you to come back. And everything that you do on a show, every time that you interact with another actor, you interact with a director, you perform on stage, all of these have an influence on the future of your career. You always want to be putting your best foot forward, gossiping about other castmates, giving the costume designer a hard time, bad-mouthing the production in any way. These are things that aren't going to get you hired. You want to be the person that everybody wants to work with. And a lot of that comes down to having a positive attitude, being willing to change and pivot, and to being supportive, being willing to step in and step up whenever there's a time to do so. Also, knowing your part. You know your lines, you know your choreography, you know your blocking, you're ready to go. This is what is going to make people want to work with you again and again, and it's going to lead to more opportunities. Okay, so let's focus on theater for a minute, this idea of traditional theater. If you want to find auditions, Durant.com is a fantastic resource. They send out, sometimes it's weekly, most times it's bi-weekly, email newsletter that has a list of auditions in it. These are things like student-directed films, but there are also lots of theater opportunities as well. Phoenix Stages has information about auditions on their website. Those auditions look a little something like this. Now, this is a screenshot from the night before Theater Day. But you can see on Phoenix Stage's website that there are so many opportunities to audition for things. So if you live anywhere in the Phoenix area or close to, there's so much available to you down here. Social media. You can also find a lot of auditions through social media. Almost all of the theater companies will announce their auditions on Instagram or Facebook. You can also join different groups on social media, Facebook groups for actors. Now, finding work through social media and online, I always caution you, just be careful that you're not being taken advantage of. You should never have to pay to audition. You should never have to pay to get in a room or get in front of an agent, sort of a thing. Just make sure that the audition is legitimate. Never go to an audition alone. Or if you do go alone, just make sure that people know where you're going. If you're the only one who's there to audition, leave. Just make sure that you're making smart choices, especially as you guys are in high school and transitioning out. Make sure you keep your parents in the loop as well. And then theater websites are a great resource. They'll talk about when their auditions are, and sometimes they'll keep their old audition information up, such as their request for, I need 2 monologues that are contrasting, or I need a song that's of a certain beat. It can help you prepare for upcoming auditions, because sometimes those audition windows are really short. So if your dream is to audition for Southwest Shakespeare, go up on their website and see what they asked actors to submit or be prepared with now, because then you can be spending the next 6 to 9 months getting those materials ready and being on it when you walk in that room. And then training. Of course, we have training here at Paradise Valley Community College. We have a really robust theater program, especially for acting. We have stage combat. We've got a lot of really unique things here at PVCC. And the great thing about PVCC is, unlike going to a university, you can pick and choose the classes that you want. So if you only want to take stage combat or you only want to take acting 1, you can do that. You can also pursue an entire degree path. You can take a couple of years to do that, or you can do it all at once in 2 years. So PVCC is really flexible in that way. And if you're currently in high school, we have a lot of partnerships with several high schools for dual enrollment. So if you're not sure if you're a candidate for dual enrollment, reach out to your theater teacher. They can get you some information on that. There's also Verb, an Actors Academy, and Deering Acting Studio here in PVCC that offer classes. Classes can tend to be pretty expensive, but if it's something that you are interested in and can budget for, they offer some amazing classes. Universities and getting a degree is always an option. Same with theaters. They will often offer training as well. And again, you've got that online. You can find a whole bunch of training online. Again, I caution you to just make sure that the folks that you're paying for, those workshops that you're paying for, that they're legitimate. Go out and do your research on who the instructor is, who the actor is. Double check their IMDb or just review their resume and just make sure that they're working in a field, in projects, in things like that that you're also looking to pursue. Another thing to keep in mind about PVCC and university and this idea of training is, do you need a theater degree to act? And the answer is no. A theater degree is going to get you connections. And if you want to teach theater, you definitely need to get your master's in fine arts. However, if you have no interest in teaching, an associate or a bachelor's is what you might need. A lot of the training aspect in theater is building those connections. You're, of course, building skills, and of course, you're learning things about your craft and you're getting time to practice. But it's also a lot about making connections. If I hadn't come to PVCC and taken classes, I never would have had opportunities to work with ATC, with Phoenix Theater, with Arizona Opera, with North High, just all of these opportunities to go out and perform and grow and do. So a lot of training is building those connections, which means get your homework in on time. Make sure that you're reliable in class. Show up on time. A class is a mini audition that just lasts a really long time, right? Okay. So now let's talk about film and commercial work. Again, you can find auditions in a lot of the same places. DurantCom gives auditions out. They do a lot of the student films from ASU or Scottsdale Community College. They will post things to DurantCom. Arizona Actors Network is a really great resource as well. They're a Facebook group. I know not many people use Facebook anymore, but there's lots of actors and directors who are in there who are asking questions. They're asking for people to help with auditions or just go help with the set. A lot of times you can help with networking by being versatile and being able to help backstage or being able to help some of the designers. Get your name known by some of these theaters, and they might be more willing to work with you because they know that you're reliable. They know that you're a nice person to work with. Those sorts of things. Backstage.com is always an option. Sometimes you have to pay for those auditions, so I would exhaust your other opportunities first. Phoenix Stages will also sometimes offer film or commercial audition information, or they might list out some projects that are coming up that people are looking for. It's not as much on Phoenix Stages, but I have seen it in the past. Another thing to keep in mind is ASU's film school and Scottsdale Community College's film schools. Every year, their directors need to do showcase projects, and they need actors for those. So contact ASU and contact Scottsdale Community College and their film departments and submit your resume, submit your headshot, and get well known by them and get on their list. They'll send out emails when they're looking for folks, and they'll also add you to their database. So as their directors are looking for people, they're going to start combing through the database. And your name might pop up, and that's a great way to be able to make those connections and, again, get yourself known. As far as training goes, Verb, Actors Academy, Deering, they've all got training. Scottsdale Community College had their acting program is fused with their film school. So there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of for-film classes. Now, PVCC, a lot of our classes will help you with film, but unfortunately, right now, we don't have a class on acting for the camera. We're We're hoping to get that class back, but right now we don't. But again, PVCC can help with a lot of that foundational stuff and making those connections. And again, there's always online training for film and commercial work. But again, use that caution when you are pursuing that training. Just make sure it's legitimate. And this goes for theater or film, any sort of training that says it will make you a better actor overnight, or that promises some sort of instant success, that's a big red flag. Film, theater, all of this acting takes a lot of work. It takes a little bit of luck, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of connections. So no training program is going to overnight make you into the next Idina Menzel or Brad Pitt. Not going to happen. So just keep an eye out for those programs that talk about that. And as you're looking at training, if they talk about very famous alumni sort of a thing, or they just list people who have done things with their program, go do a Google search on those people. Those people who have worked with the different training academies and things like that, especially for online training. Go look at their resume. Are they still acting? Do they talk about their experience with this training program? Things like that. All ways to make sure that you're just being safe. Now, a lot of times when we talk about getting started in theater or film, we're talking about finding an agent and joining a union. So Arizona is a right-to-work state. We have unions that are here. There's a couple for opera. There's a couple for music. Actors Equities has a presence here. However, as a right-to-work state, we don't have strong relationships with our actors' unions. A lot of that comes down to just the way that Arizona law and hiring and stuff like that works. It's really kind of complicated, but the bottom line of it is look at the auditions that you are able to get without being a part of a union, and then look at the auditions that you can get as part of a union. And just look at the market and make a determination on if joining a union is going to help you or if it's going to limit you. Because most times if you're in a union, you're only allowed to work on union projects. So if you are at a level where you keep getting auditions and they're not challenging you, and you'd like to move forward past that, and you see a lot of opportunities for union work where you are, go for it. The union has a lot of really great things to offer. They've also got some drawbacks. They do amazing things, but just read through their handbooks, read through their information, and just see, are they right for you? As we are getting these new film studios that are opening up in Scottsdale in the next couple of years, there might be an uptick in union presence here in Arizona. So there might be more opportunities for union actors, but there might not. That's one of those that it's kind of hard to tell where it's going to go, but it's always an option for you, and it's always something to keep an eye on. Now, finding an agent. Does everybody have to have an agent? No. You can get lots of work without an agent. However, agents can sometimes connect you to opportunities that aren't released to the rest of us. So they can help you find some training, they can help you find auditions, and they can help you find networking opportunities. All of that to say, there are quite a few agencies here in Arizona. So again, do your research, look them up, look up who is working with them, and just determine, is that the right step for you? Are you still finding auditions on your own? If you're finding that the pickings are slim for what kind of work you want to do, getting an agent might help you to find more of those opportunities. Now, a word of caution. An agent should never charge an upfront fee. Agents get paid when you get paid. So they'll usually take a commission. It's usually some form of percentage off of whatever you make from the show. So that's their payment comes after you get paid. And that'll usually just be automatically taken out of your pay and sent to them. An agent should also never force you to take classes or get headshots from a specific place at your cost. A lot of them will recommend to you, hey, we have a lot of actors who take classes here, or hey, we've worked with this guy for headshots and they've been really great for us. But they should never force you, or a term of your working with them should never be, you have to take this class, you have to take this headshot package. Most times, and I'm sure there are plenty of legitimate agents who have that practice, but most times if you find that, they're not looking to book you. They're looking to get enrollment in their classes or to get income through other sources. So just be careful. Again, do your research. And if you're under 18, before you can sign to a union, in fact, I don't think you can sign to a union until you are 18. But if you're under 18, you're going to need your parents when you sign on to an agent. So just keep that in mind as well. All right. So we talked about some of these traditional paths. We talked about agents and unions. Let's talk about some of the non-traditional paths. So if you like theater, there's lots of different options. So there's always teaching. One of the things that I love the most about teaching, I teach at Paradise Valley Community College. I teach Intro to Computer Information Systems. And one of the things that I absolutely love is the fact that I get up in front of an audience. I get up in front of my students, and it is my job to entertain them, provide them with information, keep the energy high, build a collaborative space. A lot of it is performance work, and my performance experience helps me a lot. Now, there's always some downsides. There's always some not fun bits, but if you think teaching might be for you, talk to your theater teachers, talk to your English, science, any teachers that you know in your life, and talk to them about it. It could be a great opportunity if you love working with kids or even adults. Government work. A lot of times you'll find that there are some government projects that work well with the skill sets you develop in theater. FBI special agents, CIA special agents, all of these agents who have to go undercover. Sometimes the police force will also benefit from somebody with a theatrical background. So again, never close your mind to opportunities. There's so many different options. Some other theater options are dinner theaters. We've got a couple of them throughout the valley, beyond Arizona Broadway Theater. Start looking at those. Look at opportunities for that. There's also opportunities on cruise ships. So almost every cruise ship out there has a giant theater that performs Broadway-style shows. It's one of the main draws of cruise ships is people love going to see the shows there. You get to hop on a ship. You get to hop on a ship and you get to travel around the world. Now, it's a lot of work. You're also a cruise member on a cruise ship, so you have other duties and responsibilities to do. It is not a floating hotel vacation. That's the guests. They get the floating hotel vacation. You are there to work. But it can be a lot of fun if you're willing to go away from your family for that long. Theme parks. We actually have the Marvel Adventure Park, Mattel theme park that is opening up in Glendale over by the stadium out there. They're going to be looking for actors. They're going to be looking for actors for if they have any stage shows or if they have any character meet and greets, sort of a thing. So they're going to be looking for people out there. So keep an eye out on their website and on social media for when they open auditions. But there's the Disney parks, there's the Universal parks, there's SeaWorld, there's Legoland. There's lots of different theme park activities to do, not only character work with mascots and things like that, but also their shows. It can be highly competitive. There's also a lot of times parades are looking for performers. So if you are a really good dancer, start looking around at local groups and see who's performing in parades and see if you can join their group. There's also festivals. You've got your Renaissance Festival, you've got your State Fair. There's all sorts of performance opportunities there. There's Shakespeare festivals and summer stock that happen in almost every state. California has some really good ones. Utah, Nevada, all of those places have summer festivals where it's usually 4, 5, 6 shows, and they cast for specific shows, but normally everybody's got a part in a little bit of everything. There's also escape rooms. It's spooky season, so we've got our haunted houses. You've also got murder mystery parties. So I work for the Murder Mystery Company, and we are a performance troupe that we're given scripts, but it's a lot of improv as well. So, for example, on the day that I am recording this, I am leaving in an hour and a half to go to Las Vegas to perform a murder mystery party. Next weekend, I'll be in Vegas. I go to, there's a New Mexico group that's leaving today as well. So there's lots of opportunities. We get to pick our own schedules. So we'll see a list of shows and we'll just put down which dates were available. And sometimes we'll get cast and sometimes we won't get cast. But I also work for the Princess Party Company, which Murder Mystery Company and Princess Party Company are both part of American Immersion Theater, which was on Shark Tank at the beginning of the year. But it's the same thing with those princess parties, as I'm able to book those on days that work for me. Now, for both of those, it's all about how much of your acting are you willing to interact with others. Because our guests and the kids that I work with become a part of our show. When I'm doing a princess party and I'm Rapunzel, I am constantly improving and answering questions. Same with superhero parties. If you do a party as Wonder Woman or Superman or Spider-Man, you're going to be asked a ton of questions. So it's a lot of understanding your character and a lot of research. It is improv because you have to think on the fly, but it's also you're sticking to a really, really strict script. And then for the murder mystery parties, it's a lot of we are working with our guests to solve the murder. So they're going to be asking us questions. We've got scripted bits, and then there's what we call investigation time, which is where they will come up to us and they will ask us questions. And we have to know the show forwards and backwards to be able to know not only what can we reveal to them, but what other person in the room should they be talking to with that answer. And it's all about building connections and working a room. It is a fantastic opportunity and it's a lot of fun, but it's not for everyone. So never be afraid of giving these opportunities a try. If it sticks, fantastic. If it doesn't, there's always another shot. There's always someplace else. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the sort of live performance. If you like theater, you might like these things. Now let's talk about recorded work. Training videos. I first got started in voiceover by doing training videos for Paradise Valley Community College and some of their classes. So I would sit down in front of a microphone and I would write things out. So I would write out my own script and then I would record over and over and over again. This video is taken in one take. But when I'm doing training videos, it will usually be 10, 20, 30 takes. It'll take me 10, 15 hours to get through a 20-minute training. There's also performance capture, which is used a lot in animation and video games. This is the black suit with the little white dots all over it. And stunt work, where you are able to do stunt performance. Stage combat's going to be super important for that, but so is martial arts. So if you are interested in very physical work, look at performance capture and stunt work. They're so much fun. Sort of leaning into that voice work. You've got audiobooks, educational videos like the ones that I make. There's also lots of podcast dramas that are coming out now. There's the opportunity to voice over documentaries. Maybe sometimes there's opportunities to do large documentaries like a Disney Nature or something like that. But there's also lots of other documentaries that go around. Sometimes wedding videos will want some sort of a voice to tell their story or something like that. Or sometimes you'll get museums that are looking for somebody to do a quick video that can highlight a collection. There's also radio and podcast. So if you enjoy talking about a topic or things in general, look at starting a podcast. Bring your friends on. There's also a lot of short form videos. So we see this a lot with the TikToks and the Instagram Reels and things like that. Chances to make mini series. With the fact that we all have a camera sitting in our back pocket, there's so many different opportunities to make film and to get involved with just the process of creating. Because if you can't find a project you want to work on, that's a wonderful opportunity to make one. Now, let's talk about things to do this month. All right, you're jazzed, you're ready to go. You're chomping at the bit to get started. First off, build a resume. Keep it simple. Just list out a couple of things that you are interested in. There are a lot of resources out there for you. Take a headshot. You don't have to go to a fancy studio. One of my first headshots was the brick wall outside of our local Kohl's was my background. And I just had my mom with the camera take a whole bunch of photos, probably, I'm not kidding, probably 60 or 70 of them. And I found the one that I liked and I used that for a long time and that worked great. We've got really high quality cameras. So definitely once you're ready to take that step and once you're ready to make that financial commitment, get a professional headshot. They're amazing. But if you're just starting out, there is no need to add that additional expense. You can take your own photos for now. And then record your go-to monologue or start with a reel of things that you've worked on in class. Just having something in your back pocket is amazing. And you can post it to social media, which can help get it out there. You can also use it as a way of comparing your performance. So at the beginning of the year, record your monologue. And then at the end of the year, record yourself doing the same monologue and see how you've grown. And then find an audition. So my challenge to you is to find a dream role audition and then find a now audition and apply for both. You never know what's going to happen, but go through and look to apply for both. Now, if your dream role requires you to be equity and you're not equity, if your dream role requires you to pay for the audition, don't do that. But put yourself out there and then build your social media and clean it up if you need to. Your social media for acting should not be memes. It shouldn't be photos with your friends. There's a lot of opportunity for that, but your acting social media should be a showcase of you as an actor. You as a person, as a high schooler, as a young person, should be a separate account. So I always like to do first name, last name, actress or actor, or first name, last name, performance or performer, sort of a thing. Just create a separate account for all of that stuff, just so that you're able to present that more professional image and have some place to network with folks. So let's talk about that resume. Keep it simple. Keep the format simple. You can find a lot of examples out there, but don't overcomplicate things. Cut the fluff. You don't need to add a whole bunch of roles that you had really small parts in or things that didn't really help you grow. This is a chance to showcase the best of your work. Now, if your experience level is really new, don't feel bad about having a short resume. You can, of course, beef it up with every role that you've ever done. But once you start getting more roles and once you start doing more things, start taking off some of those projects that didn't have something that will add to your resume, right? Something that doesn't show growth or that doesn't show you working with multiple companies or directors, sort of a thing. For me and my resume, I have a lot of PVCC on my resume, which is fine. But as I'm working with other companies and as I'm doing more things, I'm slowly taking some of the earlier PVCC stuff off so that it shows that I've worked with other colleges, other companies, other directors. That way it shows more variety. Again, as you're starting out, don't worry about that. But another thing to cut the fluff on is those special skills. Unless you're going for a film, they aren't going to need to know that you have a driver's license. They make sure that all of your special skills are things that you could perform on the spot if given the opportunity. So don't say that you can do a backflip if you can't do a backflip at a moment's notice. Show some personality. This doesn't mean that you can't add things to your special skills or add color to be able to show personality. Make sure that it's realistic. Again, it should be entirely truthful. There should be no fudging, I could interpret this. No, it needs to be completely realistic because the theater community and the film community talk. So make sure it's realistic and consistent. And then representation. If you've got an agent on there, make sure that you mention that. If you don't worry about it. You don't have to put something like, I'm not represented or something like that. Look at other people's resumes and look at templates that are out there. This should be a document that you are updating after every single show. I have on my calendar for May and December to update, make sure that my resume is up to date. And that's because sometimes I can forget about projects. So having it on my calendar during the 2 times when I'm usually not performing, because usually I perform in the spring, there's usually something in the summer and then usually something in the fall. But having those dates on my calendar makes it easy for me to remember, oh yeah, I need to go in and update that, because I don't always remember to update it in the craziness of the wrapping up a show. And make sure that you're listing your training too. If you're taking voice lessons, make sure that you list that with your voice teacher. Maybe even how many years you've been doing voice lessons. If you have stage combat training, or if you have gymnastics training, or if you have martial arts training, or maybe you're super cool and you have stunt driving training, put that on there. List out any acting studios or prominent actors or teachers that you've worked with. List your high school teacher on there. A lot of times your high school teachers are way cooler than you realize, and they're really well known. So having them on there talks to the level of training that you have received, and it's something to be proud of. All right, so you've got your resume now. Let's talk about filming a monologue. Audio over visual. So you don't need to go out and buy a $1,000 sound system with a $1,000 camera to record a monologue. You can do it on your phone. If you have the opportunity to invest in something, the priority should always be audio. So see if you can go on Amazon and get a lapel mic to make your voice clearer. See if you can invest in a podcasting mic or something like that. The video needs to be clear. It needs to be professional. But we judge a lot of video based off of how crisp and clear is the sound. Now this microphone, it's all right. But it's what I've got for right now. So making sure that your audio is clear, that your background is quiet. All of these things are super important. And when we're talking about that, just make sure before you film your monologue, just double check your background. Again, you don't have to go out and get a fancy blue screen that's on a fancy tripod. You don't need to get any of that stuff. You can film it in your room. Just make sure that your room is kind of picked up, kind of clean. You want to present a professional experience. Make sure there's nothing in the background that you would be embarrassed about or that might present you in a not so great light. If you vape, make sure you don't have a vape in the background, that sort of thing. Just make sure that your background is exactly the way that you want to present yourself. Movement. When you are filming a monologue, it is not like filming a scene. You are very limited in your movement, and the camera picks up movement in a different way than we see it on a stage, right? So your movements can be big, they can be bold. I'm not saying don't make those choices. I'm just saying make sure that you're not swaying back and forth like you would, even if it's a character choice. Swaying back and forth on a video can look and come off very not confident. Like you're not confident in yourself. You're not prepared. So just watch your movement. And sometimes that means that you have to really study other folks' monologues. Go on YouTube, go on TikTok and Instagram. There's so many different people out there who have recorded monologues and done a fantastic job. Don't copy their acting, but look at the way that they're presenting themselves. And then rewatch those monologues that you've recorded and rewatch them every once in a while. I'm not saying you have to watch them every week or every day sort of a thing, but every couple of months, go back through and watch and just see, have you grown? Are there choices that you would make differently now? Record the same monologue over and over again, and keep updating it. Keep not only to, if you publish it somewhere, show somebody growth, but also to show that you are keeping yourself up to date. That if your look changes, that you've also updated any recorded materials you might be sending in. And share it often. Post it to your social media whenever, like, for example, if you did a Halloween monologue or you did a holiday song sort of a thing, you should be sharing that during that time of year, whether that's just posting it to stories or posting it as a memory sort of a thing. Get it out there and keep updating materials. Don't share the same thing 1,000 times, but share what your work is. Remember, it's an opportunity to perform and it's an opportunity for others to see you perform. Share it. And then when you are filming a monologue, always have at least one, ideally two contrasting, ready to go at a moment's notice. So if somebody approaches you and says, hey, I have a project, can you send me something? You don't have to scramble. If you're in the middle of a show and things are hectic, you've always got something on hand. As you're filming, make sure to have some variety and contrast. Don't always do the same show. Don't always do the same type of character. Remember, this is your chance to show somebody you doing something maybe they wouldn't normally cast you as a villain, but this is your chance to show them that you can do it, right? But always quality over quantity. Don't just churn out 100 monologues because you can. Make sure that everything that you put out there is as high quality as you can, as far as performance goes, and that it's something that you feel would benefit you in getting cast. Now, when we talk about creating a reel for theater, most times you're not going to need it, and it's pretty hard to get footage. If you can, use it. But again, audio over video. You can also always restage scenes. So if you and your castmates are willing, you might be able to talk to the director about, hey, I'd love to film this scene for a reel. Is it possible that we could get 15 minutes on stage with the lights on during tech week to be able to just run the scene and film it? That way you have a really high quality version of that scene. And if it's with multiple people, all of you can benefit from having a recording. Also ask for clips from the show. If your theater does any sort of marketing, ask for some of the clips of either photos or videos, whatever they've got. Learn to edit. If you have a Windows computer, Clipchamp is a fantastic resource. But learn how to edit your own reels. It's also a way to start a little bit of a side business by editing reels. Watch other people's reels. Again, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all great resources for finding all of these reels. Pick your type. Pick how you want to display yourself in the reel. Try and keep, you can have multiple reels, but try and keep each reel to presenting yourself as one character type. You can show yourself as multiple, but try and create a consistent image of what someone who might be casting you. Try and create some consistency or a general feeling about what kind of actor you are or would like to be. And again, always quality over quantity. if you only have 2 things in your reel, but they're really good, it's way better than throwing in something that you've grown from. Maybe you've learned and grown from an early scene, or just a whole bunch of small bits that you had that maybe don't present you or don't give the person who's watching the reel enough of a chance to get to know you, right? Okay. Now, jobs for actors that are kind of in the theater world, and kind of not too. So other jobs, we talked a little bit about teaching, theater front of house. This is a great opportunity for actors to get in front of theaters, to get a working relationship with theaters. Now, it's not always they're not always going to cast you sort of a thing, but if you can volunteer with the front of house, volunteer to usher, sometimes it also helps you to get in to see shows. Marketing and sales, actors are really good at marketing and sales because we know how to tell a story. Publishing, if you really like reading scripts, publishing might be a direction that you want to go in. Being a spokesperson or a brand ambassador is also really good. It helps you to build those relationships and to just be personable, right? Technology. Oddly enough, actors are really good at technology jobs, especially the teaching and the training of technology. They're really good at building teams, and they're really good at working with tight deadlines. Social media, web design. If you're good at doing social media, not only can you make a living as maybe somebody who does some influencing on the side or something like that, but if you're really good at building websites or building and managing people's social media, you can make a job working for other actors doing this, which again is another great way to network and to stay within your community. And then events planning, especially if you have experience with stage management on the side as well. Actors are really good at talking to people about getting things done, and about keeping energy high, all things that are great with events planning. So again, if you're looking for maybe a not so actor job that you can use your acting with, some of these are really great. They also tend to sometimes have pretty actor-friendly schedules. So, all right. With that is what I have for you today. If you're interested, you can follow me on Instagram, Jessica L. Parsons. Feel free to send me a message there, say hello, ask me questions, and I hope to see you real soon at a PVCC production. We've got Drop Dead coming up really soon, and then we also have the student-directed one-acts where I am writing, directing, and acting in The Gentle Players Present The Fights of William Shakespeare. So, lots of fun opportunities, and let me know what you're working on. If you guys are in shows or doing show-like things, I want to know. I want to come support you. So with that, I hope that this video has been a help to you, and I look forward to seeing where you all go next. Happy acting!